Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first webinar of the Business Improvement webinar series. My name is Claire Belanger-Parker, and I am the Executive Director of the Crane Rental Association of Canada. I come to you from Saskatchewan, Treaty 4 territory, land of the Cree, Saulteaux, Dakota, Lakota, Nakota, and Métis. The presentation is being recorded and we will be available for viewing on demand. I encourage you to write your questions in the Q&A as I will be monitoring this section. Some of you have provided excellent questions upon registration. I will make sure these questions are answered during our session together. The idea of hosting a business improvement webinar series came as we reviewed comments from our members concerned about the fast changing pace of technology. We begin today by thanking our corporate partners who are making this possible. I acknowledge the commitment and support of Liebherr Canada, Manitex, Manitowoc, Lingbelt, Tadano, and Crane and Hoist Canada. It gives me great pleasure to introduce our first guest. Michael Cox has been in the industrial software industry for more than 32 years. He founded WrightPlan in 2009 with the single purpose of helping crane and rigging, machinery moving, and specialized construction companies improve their business. Over to you, Michael.
Thank you, Claire. As Claire mentioned, I've been in the software industry for over 32 years. I've worked with companies as big as General Motors, Chrysler, and Goodrich Aerospace to the local job shop down the street. So I've been exposed to a lot of different things and over the years. As Claire mentioned, I founded WrightPlan in 2009, really noticing that there was a market in crane and rigging, machinery moving, and specialized construction that was being underserved. So I wanted to create a system where there was one place to go for everything from your CRM and your quoting through to your dispatch and scheduling and your field communications and operations. And then the ability to connect that into an accounting software. So that's what we built. We're purpose-built ERP essentially that helps you save time and money on quoting and job management. I'd like to introduce Mike Margetts from Rkm Crane. Mike has been using our software for almost a year now, and he's going to join me in this webinar to talk about their journey and the kinds of things that software can do for a crane and rigging company.
Thanks, Michael. My name is Mike Margetts. I'm a manager at Rkm Crane here on Vancouver Island. I've been in the crane industry since 1995. Rkm Crane has branches in British Columbia, in Langley, Chemainus, and Kamloops. You know, we just basically needed to bring everything into one central location.
Right.
Another problem when you're dealing with multiple sheets and multiple programs to track all of your information. There's a lot of data entry where, you know, we re-enter the same data over and over again. So you have managers and even people in administration, you know, not using their time wisely and just sitting there entering customers' names in over and over again in different spreadsheets and different documents. So we wanted to shift to more high value work with the managers and people in administration. Also improve tracking, like especially maintenance tracking. That's a big thing right now. Maintenance tracking, if heaven forbid you ever had an incident or anything like that, it's all about documentation. So now we have a central location to store all of our documentation, where before it would be in files in different locations. Especially with us moving machines between branches, we would have a hard time with maintenance records that were still located in a different branch. And reporting accuracy. So right now, when it's easy to put information in, people will actually put information in. But if you make it onerous and tedious to enter information, then our reporting accuracy on like quotes and stuff like that it just wasn't there. So that's why we had to look at getting into something some software that would help us get through that.
Okay. So you took the the plunge into digital transformation, into the digital technology. So I thought, as we were thinking through this presentation, I thought of this picture that I took this spring of my son Andrew at the cottage in March before the ice was even fully off the lake. The crazy kid wanted to be the first one in the water. So I thought this picture captures what you might be expecting from a digitization journey. That initial shock of, oh my gosh, I got to jump in with both feet and the water is going to be really cold. It's going to be a complete shock. Um, but as you'll see here today, Rkm Crane took the plunge into technology, and they did so because they could see digitizing with the right system could solve the pain points that Mike talked about previously in the previous slide. So digitizing with the right system, it gives you structure. It'll give you a foundation upon which to build. It gives you a standardized system so things are done correctly and best practices can be implemented. It affords you adaptability, especially with COVID. With a modern web-based system, you can work from anywhere and do it without the burden on IT support, making it way easier for companies to adapt to new conditions. Yet, we still see that companies that haven't taken that plunge, and we hope that today's presentation will help enlighten those companies. So just talking a little bit about the journey to digitization, or the journey to implementing a solution. This roadmap that you're looking at is a way of implementation, and should be run for best results. I'll share with you some of the best practices. For example, you should divide your implementation into phases with goals. Second, you should start at the beginning of the workflow, which makes sense. Third, get some quick wins with customers and contact management and sales tracking, so that you can see within just a couple of weeks, you can get people using the system, get them comfortable with it. And then go live with quoting, which is what RKM did in that process. Now that you have a win under your belt, you can move on to phase 2 and address jobs, dispatch, maintenance, and more. And users can then see how the system flows. You enter information once, and the information flows. For example, what you defined in a quote in terms of labor, equipment requirements, and so on, will flow to the job and into the schedule as demand, so you don't have to enter information more than just once. There are quick wins in this phase 2. Pretty much right away, you can start job tracking. Often companies will want to address their skills tracking and skills management as well. And both of these things can be realized within a week or so of starting your phase 2 strategy. And finally, phase 3 addresses the mobile field management, such as timesheets, job instructions, your crane tickets, inspections, job hazard analysis, site documents, customer signatures, site pictures, and so much more. So, Mike, with this, this is the flow that you guys followed at RKM. Can you walk us through any of the other details that might be important, do you think, to the group?
Yeah, well, unfortunately, basically, we started our journey right at the beginning of a pandemic. So
Yeah.
we ended up
doesn't
doing
help.
most of our stuff just like this over Teams and online and stuff like
Yeah.
that, which, you know, being a web-based system is perfect because, you know, you just upload it, we go through it. We're both online together. You know, it was pretty amazing. We started off with basically sending you a copy of our customers. We just exported an Excel spreadsheet, send it to you. You guys upload it in the system. We went through some initial setups of, you know, machines and all that stuff, which was basically the same process. We just supplied you guys a list, and then you guys uploaded our machines into the system. We entered some of the stuff ourselves as we got new machines and started incorporating stuff like our spreader bars and everything else into the system. Because at that point, we were able to do that stuff ourselves.
Right. And getting everybody on board was important too, right? Making sure that.
Yeah, I mean, here we didn't really give people an option to not get on board. It was we jumped in it with both feet, and I was still at the beginning running 2 dispatches while I was learning to use this one, and within less than a week, boom, I dropped the one that I was using previously. And yeah, it was just really fast, easy to learn, and pretty easy to implement.
And one of the other things I remember we discussed was the fact that you guys had a product champion, so someone that could see it through and get everybody to understand the why of the project, why we were
Yep.
doing this, and why it was important.
So that was Graham, and he was actually originally supposed to be doing this presentation with you today, but unfortunately he had some family matters that he has to deal with. But right from the beginning, Graham, I work closely with Graham, and Graham put together all of the basically the talking between WrightPlan and talking between the employees and going through and showing everybody how everything worked, and having somebody positive on board to do all that was definitely a major stepping stone, because when you get everybody on board, you get everybody moving forward, it makes a huge difference.
Right. You get there as a team.
Yeah.
Exactly. So this was actually a picture of Graham's daughter, and the point was that your team may understand the why of why we have to do this. Like you said, Mike, you had a lot of reporting requirements to corporate, and you didn't want to be spending so much of your time pulling together data and putting together these reports. But still, people can be hesitant. They the older folks sometimes are a little hesitant on technology, but with modern software that is purpose built, you don't have to be a rocket scientist or a little kid to figure it out. Even though still every once in a while, when I got my new iPhone 12, if I couldn't figure something out, I would sometimes go to my 14-year-old son and get him to show me how to do this. But pretty much with most modern technologies, you can it's easy to figure it out. But Mike, how did you find the technology usage go for you guys?
Well, when we first started this process, Graham basically laid out a flow chart of how things were currently being run in the business, which were, like I said, a lot of spreadsheets, a lot of Word documents, a lot of broken ways on the flow chart, where now we've centralized it into a stream of where you start a job, you start a quote. All you got to do is you got to go in and win the quote. It transfers everything over automatically to the job. It assigns it a job number, all that stuff. Where before we would have to go in and open another spreadsheet and get a job number from when he'd already gone in and got quote numbers in other sheets and stuff like that. So we just wanted to find something that was really easy to use. So Graham and I we'd gone through a number of presentations from different companies, WrightPlan being one of them. And our managers at Rkm are all field guys. Every single one of our branch managers is a crane operator by trade.
Mm-hmm.
So, when we came across this one, it was basically like, if you can use a smartphone, you can probably figure out WrightPlan. Some of the software we looked at was complicated. I felt like I was looking over the shoulder of somebody in accounting at some program that they were using that was so far above my head that. And WrightPlan just was easy to use. It was like using an app, right? So
great. Okay, good.
being web-based too. Logging in from my phone. I use it on my phone all the time. Use it from a computer. I can kick my daughter off playing Fortnite, get on there, see what somebody's doing. I can look at what Kamloops is doing if they've got machines available. So there was just a lot of benefits to what we saw with it. So that's why we chose to go with it.
Oh, good, thanks. The just to show a little bit of what its screens can look like in these types of systems. Um, Here's an example of a screenshot, and one of the things that we want to make sure is that there's consistency between designs of screens and screen layouts and so on. So whether I'm looking at a list of customers, or I'm looking at a list of quotes, or a list of jobs, or a list of employee skills, the screens all work the same, so that once you figure one out and you know how to manipulate it, you know how to save at the top, save filters. So I want to see data a certain way. I want to see these columns. I want to see this, these statistics, that kind of thing. And I want to save them in buttons that are specific to my view and what I want to see. Once you figure that out on one screen, the idea is that it should be transferable to the other parts of the system. So you're not relearning every time you go into a new module. So just as an example, I mean, this is not Mike's data. We didn't want to show any of that, but this is just made up data. But just some of the things that you might want to be able to do to customize, to slice and dice your data. If I'm looking at my customers and I'm tracking opportunities as an example, I might look and say, okay, what does my opportunity sales look like? I might define marketing qualified, sales qualified. What accounts have I moved to the pipeline? How many do I have? What's the value of those? And then perhaps you want to group your data by the pipeline and see which ones are in marketing qualified, sales qualified, move to the pipeline. And then the ability to click on anything in a list and see information on a right side panel. And again, make that a standard design so that no matter what screen you go into, you're seeing information and defining what you want to see. So is there a credit limit? When did they become a customer? What's the estimated value of this current opportunity? In a lot of systems too, you see the use of what we call tiles, which are ways of clicking on buttons to get additional information, like going into a details screen or seeing attachments to a customer record or any record, logging activities, what activities have been logged, what have other people done before I talk to this customer. I want to see what other people have been doing in this account. Clicking into a tile to see what quotes do we currently have with this system, with this customer? What other jobs am I working on? So digitization will give you this information. It will allow you to have one centralized place to go to see all this. And it just streamlines everything for you in this case. Now we're looking at a listing of quotes that I've made look the way I want to see it look. So you can see the same sort of a layout where I have a listing screen. I've customized buttons which would dictate what columns are on the screen, what data I'm showing. And when I click on any one of these quotes, then I can have a side panel, and I might dig deeper into that side panel to bring up, as an example, the list of quotes or activities the list of activities that I've done for this quote, which I can see here. I can see that on March 25th, my initials, I emailed the quote to this person. I could click down and see the body or the contents of that email. And when you create data too, software systems have the ability to even export that data. So if I want to see certain data on my quotes, like show me all the quotes that I won last 30 days and what's the total, or show me all the quotes that I need to follow up with in the next 7 days. And when there are quotes I need to follow up with, push that information to me. I don't want to have to go here. I want the system to tell me and alert me. But maybe I want to download that information, and I want to download it into an Excel file because there's more reporting that I want to do for it. So software systems can do this for you guys. I know we wanted to put the quote letter here because that is really where everything comes together in the quoting process, where you've got all of your estimate. Perhaps it's summarized. The description of the steps of what you're doing can go automatically to the scope of your quote letter. The clarifications can come from a master clarifications list. Terms and conditions can be dictated. I know, Mike, you guys like to take site pictures and sometimes include site pictures on your quote letter. I remember laughing because you showed me a picture of this elaborate hot tub you were lifting onto the penthouse suite of an apartment in Vancouver. So, things like that where it saves you the recreation of a quote letter. It comes together with a lot of different options and so on. And
That is
then,
definitely a bonus when you can open up a quote that's similar to one that you're going to be able to do, and then just hit duplicate, and it transfers all that information over to the new one. You can change a customer, change a job site. It does save a lot of time.
right, exactly. And then you guys email it out from the system. So you're capturing that activity automatically. So, if Mike's on holidays and someone says, hey, did that quote go out? You just have one place to go to look I don't have to go into Mike's Outlook file to see it. I can just see from going to the quote and looking the activity that, hey, it was sent out, it was emailed at this time, and here's what Mike did. Maybe he included not just the quote, but maybe you had to send an insurance certificate along with it. So include other things in that packet.
And one good thing that I want to mention too is in the system, you can literally drag and drop stuff. So if I want to throw a picture in that quote letter, I just open up the file for my pictures, grab a picture, and just drop it into the quote where I want it. It's done. If somebody sends me an email with drawings for the items that we're lifting or whatever, or if Graham does up like a lift plan, and he emails it to me, I just grab it out of the email, I can drag it into the job, and it puts it in as an attachment. So, just that ease of use was, a huge motivating factor of, why we wanted to go with this software.
Excellent. The another big one for you guys, of course, was the dispatching side, was the ability to manage your assets and your people. And a lot of people like to see things in different ways. So whether they want to see things on a timeline where I have my assets listed down the side and I'm dragging and dropping jobs onto there, or I can look at my labor, I can look at my jobs this way, I can change how the timeline is viewed. But I know you guys have gravitated, and I've zoomed in here, but to show the detail, but I know you guys have gravitated towards using the calendar quite a bit and defining, each user defines what they want to see in a job. I think you like it because you were mentioning, Mike, you like to drag and drop, the jobs around here as well.
Yeah, exactly. You can extend them, drag it. Like if it's just a day that it's going to extend, you literally put your mouse on the side of the job and drag it over the one day, or you grab it and you put it in the next week, because people are always changing dates and postponing. It drives me crazy. But we actually, in the calendar view too, we've in our crew room, we've set up a TV to where the crew can see the whole month laid out, what jobs are coming up, what jobs they're assigned to, what equipment's assigned to each job. And it's completely live. So if I'm sitting in my office right now and I change a machine because I'm substituting it out for another machine, it pops it right up on the board out in the crew area, and they can see exactly any changes live of what's happening, right? So.
And you guys are also currently pushing information out just through the communicator, so everybody understands where they.
At the end of each day, once I've finalized where everybody's going, I just click on the communicator button, and whoever's assigned to that job, it's set up to actually send them a text. So it'll send them a text with their start time, what time they're supposed to be on site, the address where they're going, a small description of what they're doing. Basically everything that you see on this calendar view here will get sent to them in a text message along with the job number. So now we're not quite at the full mobile setup where we're doing everything digitally. So we still do have work orders and stuff. So they can put this job number that I've assigned to them on that. And now it's fully traceable back to, this job on the calendar.
Exactly. Okay. And I know you like to have multiple screens open, so this is another one of the dispatch screens. I know you were saying you like to drill into the day and see my jobs listed here and see the demand, and then where there's the orange color, you need to fulfill demand, and you mentioned dragging and dropping people between jobs or on and off jobs and that kind of thing.
Yeah. So you just would literally go over to the available 75-ton crane that's on the side right there. And if there was a need for a 75-ton in my daily, I could just drag that over and drop it there. So.
And it's key too to identify any conflicts. Like if you moved a job and it was Kawhi Leonard there was scheduled on a job, and then you moved it to a day he was on vacation. It's like a conflict alert goes up, or if you double book him by accident by moving a job or that. It's just I mean, you know what you're doing, but on the other hand, it's nice to have the system backing you up just in case that arises.
Yeah, especially if you're moving something around to a future date and you're not really paying attention that, hey, something's already booked on that date for that machine. It'll, give you an alert that, hey, that machine's already booked doing something else.
Right, exactly. Okay, good. So with the just kind of bringing things around again, back to the original reason why you guys went ahead and did this, we talked about all those pain points at the beginning of the presentation. Mike, can you summarize for us what the results have been so far?
Well, we've got everybody on board here doing it. Duplicating quotes is easy. I definitely spend way less time entering a customer's name in because it's literally already in the system. I just start typing it in, pre-populates it, brings it up. Especially if I'm copying a quote from a previous quote, copy a quote, send it out, go in, win it. I'm not sitting there entering information in all the time. It's super quick. I can do it from anywhere. Being mobile is huge. I can be out for lunch, customer calls, says, hey, I want to postpone the job that's supposed to be happening this afternoon till tomorrow. I can pull it up on my phone, say, yeah, no problem. Reschedule it, pops up. Guys even here before I'm back from lunch, even though that the job's been postponed and changed to a different day. So it's been a real win. Quotes are going out with all the correct terms and conditions now. There's different levels of approvals too, right? So that's one thing that we were missing was approvals on quotes.
And what do you mean by that? How are you guys using that?
Right now it's by dollar value. So like supervisors will have up to a certain amount of a dollar value that they're allowed to quote, and then anything above that, they'll still do up the quote, but it'll send me an email saying, hey, this guy wants to send this quote out, and it requires your approval. So then I have a chance to go through it and say yes, no. I can send information back to him, or I can just click approve, and then it gives him the permission to send it out. And then if it's something larger than what I'm allowed to do, it'll send it up to the next level, and it'll send an email to that person saying, hey, this supervisor or this manager or whatever wants to send this quote out. So, you have to wait for them to give their approval on it too. But, it's just as simple as they could even look at it on their phone and go through it quickly and, yeah, no, that looks good, fire it off, approve it. And then it gives the visibility to upper management of, larger jobs and stuff like that. So.
What about tasks and reminders? Do you guys use those?
Yeah, tasks and reminders are definitely a great thing. So I can assign myself a task, or I could assign somebody else a task, somebody in administration or somebody in quoting or something like that. I can say, hey, can you please do this? And I can set a date when I want it done by and fire it off to them. And it'll send them daily reminders that they need to do this for me, or, it'll notify me once they've done it and said they've done it, and it gets sent back to me that, hey, Graham has completed this task, and then I know, right? So that's a huge thing. You can set up tasks for equipment.
Yeah, that was one of the questions that actually came in was on maintenance, and how do I know when something's due? So you guys are setting up, remind me that the maintenance is due on this particular job at this particular point, and then the system sends whoever is assigned to be responsible for that, the reminder ahead of time as to when it is due and things, right?
Yeah, so right now on my home screen, I have it set up for everything that's due in the next 7 days.
Mm,
So I can always see which machines are coming up due for an NDT or MVI or non-destruct test, whatever the task may be. And it'll show me what's happening in that 7 days. I can increase it to the whole month, or I can do whatever I want, right? But just for me, that 7-day outlook covers most of it.
right. Okay. Excellent.
The other thing too that I wouldn't mind mentioning
Yeah.
is sending out email notifications.
Mm,
So we have weekly meetings here where we go through job logs and we go through a whole bunch of stuff. But I can send out an email to myself saying, okay, the day before the meeting, review all your outstanding purchase orders, right? And
right.
it'll automatically send me out that email because I've got it set up on a subscription.
Okay.
On this certain day, it'll send out all my outstanding purchase orders. So I can go, oh, hey, I received this and it's been sitting open for a week.
Mm.
Forgot to close it, so then it reminds me to close it and stuff. So
That's a good point to bring up too, is that when you have system filters set up to show you information, you might not necessarily want to go into the system to get that. You want it pushed to you, so you get that email, and then you can then you have that information in front of you, and the ability to share that information with other people, even if they're not users of the system. If somebody else needs to get a list of those outstanding purchase orders or jobs that are ready to invoice, even, here's these jobs are now ready to invoice, and
and you
that
can
gets sent
actually
in.
set up what time that you get it.
Hmm.
So sometimes in the day when I'm like super busy, I don't want to be getting these email reminders or whatever.
Hmm.
So I'll actually set up some reminders for like to come in the evening when I'm not doing anything or whatever. It'll email me
Right.
this reminder and I can just have a quick look and go, oh yeah, and I can quickly deal with it then, kind of thing, right? So
Right.
sometimes
Exactly.
in the daily shuffle, if you're trying to get everything done at a busy time, it's
Yeah. It goes, yeah, it gets buried in the rest of the emails from the day, or, or yeah, it gets out of sight. Yeah. Okay. Great. And the next phase is with the mobile field solutions, as Mike mentioned, that they're currently pushing information out by text. And the next is, as I mentioned, is the mobile field solutions part of it. So where the field essentially gets connected to the office. So having the mobile field application allows the field to get job scope, job instructions, be able to look up attachments to jobs. It really puts the office information into the hands of the field force. Um, if they wanted to see those attachments, like lift plans are attached to the job, and you provide the permission for them to see those lift plans or to see those additional bits of information that are attached, they can access those. Google Maps, site pictures, site documentation such as ground conditions, procedures, equipment checks, job hazard analysis. All this information, with a digital system, can be available to your workers in the field. And it gives them the ability to, obviously log their time sheets, see their time sheets, how much have I accrued since the last payroll period. A lot of people give them the ability to look back on that and catch mistakes before it goes to payroll, so they can bring it up now. They can see documents, take pictures, submit pictures. Hey, before I lift that AC unit, there's a huge dent on it. We haven't touched it. Let's take a picture of that and submit it, and get the customer to sign that before we touch this bit of equipment. So and yeah, it brings up the signatures. So arrival and departure with customers, having them sign off for that. Another big one, especially during COVID, is fit for work declarations. Before they start, everyone on the crew needs to, read that and agree or answer the declaration. Are you COVID free? Do you have fever? Have you been outside of the country? All those kinds of questions. A lot of customers are requiring that now before you go on site. So those need to be declared and documented and saved against the job. So yeah, hopefully we've told you all about the benefits of putting in a software system. Mike went through the pain that they had and why, the motivation, why they did it, and gave an explanation as to how it's really helped them. So hopefully this gives you all an understanding of what a good software system can do for you. So without talking any more about this, I'll turn it over to Claire and Adam, and if there's any questions, we'd be more than happy to answer anything we haven't answered already yet.
All right, in the Q&A, Michael, we have, does the drag and drop for jobs cause problems? How do you ensure you don't change the date for a job accidentally?
Well, I've never actually ran into a problem where I've accidentally changed the job by doing drag and drop, because you would physically have to be clicking on it. That's just actually something I've never run into a problem with, accidentally switching a job date.
Yeah, because usually you have one of the things that you differentiate is you're dragging out of a work pool of your riggers, your oilers, your operators, and dragging them into a demand position or onto a job, or you're dragging an asset or a person between jobs. But to physically move the job, you have to actually grab the job with your mouse and move that. Or as Mike said, he mentioned earlier about the job's going longer at the end of the day. The crane operator lets dispatch know this job's going to run into tomorrow morning. We can't leave now. So you physically just move your mouse to the end of the job and pull it over into the next day, so it extends the job. So I think it just has.
I can honestly say that I've never accidentally done that, and I'm not really sure why I've never accidentally done it, but I have.
Great software design, maybe.
I'd like to invite Adam if he would like to add something to this. Adam, you indicated you'd be willing to answer the question as well.
Sure, yeah. Mike, if you could just touch on the conflict warning, maybe as part of putting the same person on multiple jobs or double booking or even vacation.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you have a person assigned to a job, Mike gave the example earlier that you do decide. Let's say a customer calls you, says, "Hey, we can't do the job tomorrow, but we'd like to do it next Wednesday." So you just say, "Okay, great." You put your mouse on the job. You hold your left mouse button and you physically drag it in the calendar to next Wednesday. But you forgot that Adam was on holidays that day. He wasn't tomorrow. He was supposed to be working, but I dragged the job and Adam's on the job, and it's going to retain that resource on the job. So your four-way flasher light that we call it, your hazard button, will light up, and you'll get a little red message that says, "Hey, you've created a conflict by doing this immediately." To see exactly what to do, you can just click on the conflicts button, and it's going to tell you what the problem is. So Adam has been scheduled to this job, you've moved it, and he's also on vacation. What do you want to do? Do you want to renege his vacation? That could be a problem. Or do you want to reassign somebody else to this particular job? So it allows you to do that. But one thing that's really important too that we've learned is dispatchers, they understand their schedule, they understand the people and their capabilities and the machines. Sometimes there's a conflict that they create, but they do it knowing that it's okay. For example, you've got maybe a site supervisor working on one job for a customer in one area of the site, and you've got another job going on for the same customer, but just in a different area. And you want that supervisor to go over at a certain time of the day, maybe 2 o'clock, to supervise a lift or something that's going on. You still want him scheduled on the first job, but you can also move him to supervise that second job. Creates a conflict, but you as a dispatcher know that that's okay. I'm going to acknowledge that conflict and just allow that to happen. So you don't want to handcuff your dispatchers, force them into a box all the time, but you do want to give them the information so they have the whole picture and they can make that decision, knowing all the information that's in front of them. So,
Right.
and the same thing goes. It can happen with labor. It can happen with equipment and many other conflicts.
Yeah, we've got good questions coming in. So if you enter jobs directly to the dispatch area, does existing quote come into view?
Okay, that's one thing that I do all the time is I work backwards in the system. So you get a phone call, guy just wants to order a crane, you haven't done up a quote, you don't have a job started, any of that stuff, right? And he's actually on the phone with you right there. So I'll go into the schedule and I'll just schedule a new work order, which, you know, I can select. Customers are usually already in there. So select a customer, put it in the schedule, book it, assign whatever equipment I want to assign to it in the schedule. And then I can, if there's already an existing quote, I can just open up that job that it's created, because it automatically creates a job. And I can hit the little search icon, which is little magnifying glass, and I can search for that quote by the quote number, or I can do up a quote after the fact to send to him and attach it to that job. You know, it's pretty easy.
Okay, next
But
question.
I do that all the time. I work backwards in the system. So.
Great. One more question here is, does WrightPlan have the ability to store training, equipment, competencies records to make sure that the right people are assigned to the job?
Yes. So you have those competencies, those skills, those badging. You can keep that all with the employee record. And so if you need a certain skill, a certain level of competency, there's a little filter button that you just say, okay, I need a person that requires this. And then those people that have valid and are still valid, because sometimes they may have an expiry date. It'll show you these are the people that qualify for this particular job.
Yeah, so in the employee skills, we've done quite a bit of jobs where there was like lots of training required, like barrelware and pipeline safety and a whole bunch of tickets, you know, that'll all come. You can upload all those tickets and pictures of all the tickets to that employee. So, you know, if customer needs a copy of their operator's ticket or their first aid ticket or barrelware ticket or whatever the ticket happens to be, an indoctrination for a mill or mine site, you know, you can upload all of those in there and put expiry dates on them if there is expiry dates, or sometimes they don't expire. You don't have to have an expiry date.
Just
Exactly. Yeah.
following that question, can those come up in seniority order? Going back.
Sorry, I didn't get that, Claire. You broke up.
Okay,
Seniority.
yeah,
Oh.
seniority order.
I'm not sure if you can have it by seniority in the system. That's not something that we do here. Mike, I'm not sure if you can answer that or not.
Yes, so you can, there's a number of different ways that you can, when you bring up something like that, that you can sort it for your labor listing. So there are fields that allow you to, the examples that I know of would be like first apprentice, second apprentice, things like that. So you can have those listed, or a couple customers that use the union hall, they have a preference of how they choose certain employees out of that union hall, and you can set that up as an example. So if that's the question, if I think I understand it right, then yeah, that's how you can set that kind of a precedence for selection up.
Does this software communicate with GPS software?
Does it communicate with, sorry?
GPS software.
GPS.
Oh, GPS software. Okay. So through our what's called application programmatic interfaces, or APIs. So we have APIs that will connect with a GPS calls back and forth through an API. So we don't have the GPS technology built into WrightPlan, but we do connect through what are called APIs into the GPS system, as long as the GPS system can do it. But the ones that are, most of the modern ones that are out there today, all have that API capability. As the same thing with like accounting systems as well. Most of those will have API capabilities for talking to other systems.
We have one more question here. Can the photos of the licenses be drawn in from another database, or do they have to be uploaded into WrightPlan?
I can go either way. You can have a link. So if you have, if you need to link to an attachment, you can just put a link in there. So some of our customers that have extremely large CAD drawings, if they do specialized construction, they don't want to take up the space in the file server on WrightPlan. So they'll instead put a link on the attachment out to the other, wherever that file actually lives.
We have a question in regards to the initial cost and the monthly cost. So I would encourage you to be in contact after the presentation, because I don't think these are items you'd like to cover at this point, since this is a webinar and every company has different needs. Michael, would you like to add something to that?
Yeah, I know that's the best thing for sure. If you're interested in our particular software solution, I'd be more than happy to talk to you about what your needs are, and we tailor an implementation that's specific to what you guys require.
There are also questions that have come into the chat, Michael. So do you have any problems with the quote copy sometimes, like forget to modify an info or something?
Sometimes, I mean, the biggest issue that we have is sometimes we try and upload a picture that's too large and it kind of locks up the system a little bit. You just basically fire off an email to technical support at WrightPlan there, and they'll remove that picture because it was so huge that that it just locked up the system. I mean, that's the largest one. Problems with the quote. I mean, still it's put together by humans, so sometimes there is errors, right? So, but it's not going to be any different with any other software package.
Someone else comment?
Yeah,
oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I just like to say, yeah, I've obviously forgotten to modify something once in a while, especially when I've copied a quote over. So it's just something that you have to be careful of.
So we have a system that tracks hours and maintenance schedules. Can we automatically push that data to WrightPlan?
Yes, again, so I would love to talk to you about what that system is. And as I mentioned, most systems have APIs, so the ability to take data out of their database and pass it to another system through a common file. what's called a JSON file or a CSV file. So these are common ways of communicating with other systems. So we can, yes, we can pull in information such as maintenance records and things like that and upload those against your assets. But again, I'd just like to see what is that system that that we would be talking to, and does it have those capabilities? And if it does, then yeah, there's always a workflow that we can build that that will make that happen.
And can we file an email to a specific job?
Yeah, you literally just grab it out of your email and drag it into the job.
Great.
There's a little attachments, a little box that says attachments, and you would just grab the email, drag it to that box, and it automatically attaches it to the job.
Right. And is licensing by concurrent users or tied to a user?
To a user. So the reason we chose that model was because with a web-based system, you're often logged in more than once. So for example, I always have we use our own system here for doing all of our quoting, job tracking, time tracking, invoicing, and we connect it to our automatically to our QuickBooks accounting system. But I have WrightPlan always on. I never log out on my phone because I look up customers and I want to be able to, when I'm finished a meeting, I hate typing. I'm lazy. I like the voice to text option on my iPhone. So I just go in, log in activity, and I sit there and I dictate all my notes in to my WrightPlan system through there. So I'm never logged out on my phone, but I'm also logged in on my laptop. So I can be logged in as many times as I want, 4, 5, 10, doesn't matter times. So that's the way we chose a named user license that way. And Mike was mentioning too, he'll get messages in the field, or he'll log on in the field to change the schedule. So back in his office, he through his browser, his computer might be locked, but he still might be, he can go back and log in on his laptop, but still have it on his phone, or if he kicks his daughter off Fortnite, like he said, he can log in there if he wants to. So you can be logged in multiple times.
So is the entry in real time if you have lots of people adding jobs?
Yeah, that's the best part, is everybody can be adding jobs at the same time. You're not overwriting people. You literally see changes on your screen as they're making changes, kind of thing. So it's 100% live. And with Excel and Word-based programs, we were trying to do it that way, but we were always running into problems. So no problems with that here.
So Mike, Margetts, I've got a few questions for you. Some that came in through registration about explaining how your team managed the change. How was the adoption rate for the members of your team? And did you have employees that were most willing to embrace and not so hot about it? Tell us a bit more about how that went for you.
Well, we didn't. Like I said before, we didn't give any options for people not to embrace it. It was basically forced on everybody, which is the way you would have to do it, right? So you can't just half-ass go after something. So the adoption rate was really good. I would say that the biggest thing was definitely age-based. Younger people that are on their smartphones all the time, posting pictures of crane lifts on Facebook or whatever. They're really into learning new technology and stuff like that. Definitely wasn't an issue. So it's just older generation that still has a flip phone or something like that. New challenge for sure.
Good. And what was the biggest improvement for RKM? And we want to know through the lens of a manager and through the lens of your field guys.
Okay, well, let's say I got a phone call from a customer who was trying to reach an operations guy at a different branch. You get a phone call saying, "Hey, Mike, I can't reach this guy in Kamloops. I really need a crane tomorrow. I can pull up on the schedule, or anyone can pull up on the schedule what's actually happening in Kamloops, what machines they have available and stuff like that. So I could say, you know what, he's fully booked tomorrow. Or, you know what, it looks like he has some machines available for him. I'll keep trying to get a hold of him or whatever. So I have that ability to see what's happening everywhere else. Like I've got a machine that just broke down. I need to pull a machine out of Vancouver. I can quickly look up and say, oh, hey, they have this machine there that's available. I'm going to phone the manager up there and say, send me that machine this afternoon on the ferry, whatever. Just having that visibility is huge.
And
And for the guys, I'll tell you the number one thing for the guys that they like is having that dispatch board up there. Because normally they would complain that things change so much that I'm phoning them at 6 o'clock at night, telling them what they're doing the next day because I'm holding off for so long because things are shifting around so much, right? Where now they can actually go there, they can look, they can see what's kind of scheduled, what's going on. Yeah, sure, it's probably going to change by the time that the real day comes around, but at least they have an idea of what's happening in the future. And that's one thing that the guys really enjoy is having that visibility.
And someone asked it, maybe we've missed it, but do you use personal smartphones or pay some dollars toward data plans or company issued smartphones and tablets?
You know, here in British Columbia with our union, you can't require someone to have a phone or use a phone for work. That being said, most guys don't have a problem using their phones for work. All the managers here have company phones. They're the ones that are accessing the system. We haven't actually moved to the guys other than getting text messages or being able to see what's happening. We haven't gone any farther with that in the mobile side. So that's something that we're going to have to talk about. Some guys, I'm sure, will have no problem doing it. In today's world, I think most people have unlimited data anyways. It's not the issue that it used to be. So
Can it be a combination of personal smartphones and company issued tablets, Mike? It's probably for Michael Cox here.
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So the way the mobile side of it works is that it's actually controlled from the main system. So as long as you give the permission to, say, the dispatcher, who is often the one closest to the field, they are the ones that can turn on or revoke privileges to any user of the mobile app in the field, which makes it good for the folks that are unionized, because you might have jobs and require more people, and you can commission someone very, very quickly within a minute. You can have the app sent to them, and they can turn it on and commission it on their device, and it's automated. The whole setup is automated, so it happens, like I said, inside of a minute. The same thing if a person is leaving the company or is no longer required. It's as easy as the dispatcher. You don't have to be an administrator to just revoke their privileges. So and that can be on a personal phone. It's fine that way, because again, it's controlled. The permissions are all controlled from the mothership, or it can be on a company one as well. So if it's on a company one, it may be, you may be allowed to log on and log off. But if it's on a personal one, then it's probably dedicated to that person, and then you could just revoke privileges if you needed to.
Okay, we've got one more question about how do you keep track of where your trailers are?
I would imagine we're talking about counterweight trailers, or that's what we would be talking about here. So, I mean, there's no tracking software on where they're currently parked, but one thing that I will do is, actually, I just started doing this, was we have all of our trailers entered into WrightPlan, and I'm able to assign them to jobs. So if I'm sending out, if I'm sending a machine out on site, I'll assign the machine to that job. I'll assign the tractor that takes it to that job with a driver. And then I'll also assign that trailer to that job. So, I mean, other than that, I don't know where they're parked at any particular time. We're not tracking that. It's just something that I'm supposed to know.
Okay. I believe, gentlemen, that we have covered all the questions. This has been very, very well attended and great questions. Michael, I'd like to give you the closing remarks. But just before I do that, I just want to remind everyone that we have 2 more webinars scheduled for the end of this series, and you can register through our website at www.crac-aclg.ca. I want to thank everyone for participating today, and Michael, I'd like to give you the closing comments.
Oh, thanks, Claire. Well, again, I'd like to reiterate what Claire said and thank everybody for attending. And I hope you found it valuable. I hope that you were able to see that software technology, it may be a little bit scary and you might have to take the plunge, but if you do, it really has a huge payoff. And I'd be more than happy to talk with anybody that has questions. If they would like to see a demonstration, I'd be happy to show them as well. Mike, I'd really like to thank you for taking the time out of your day, especially at the last minute, having to jump in and take this on. I know it took you a lot of time, so I really appreciate you taking the time to help. And Claire, thank you very much for setting this up. I hope it was valuable to all the members. I mean, that's what we're here for, is to help everybody out. So, and then I'm really looking forward to next spring at Niagara-on-the-Lake. I hope we can all get together and we're all vaccinated and we can all meet in person and maybe have a drink and play some golf and talk business at the same time too. It would be great. So thank you very much, everybody. I really appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I would really suggest that you, looking at the program on slides doesn't really do it justice. Definitely go for the tour or the demo. It's definitely worth it.
Better to see things in action. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're right. Thanks, Mike.
Right.